According to Freud, to be human means to exist in a reality that has specific features that determine it. For instance, having a living body, not always being conscious to our thoughts, and having questions regarding our sexuality and existence. All of these features, when grouped together in a specific way, determine what Freud called a mental structure, and what in our videos will be called a mode of being. In his life's work, Freud attempted to identify a set of general mental structures that exist in the diversified fabric of humanity. After many years of work, Freud presented a list of 3 major mental structures he discovered in Victorian Austria of the early 20th century. He called them neurosis, perversion, and psychosis. Freud wrote many papers in which he attempted to describe the unique psychological and behavioral traits that characterize these structures. However, he was not satisfied with this, but insisted that it is more important to investigate what creates these behavioral patterns in the first place. Try and imagine the psyche like Freud did, divided into different systems, each one working by itself, but also interacting with other systems. These are sometimes called perception consciousness, preconscious, and the unconscious. At another time, Freud calls it the ego, id, and superego. Well, whatever they are called, every psyche is characterized by a certain organization of these systems. Now, Freud thought that at a certain age in childhood, the way these systems generally organize is set in place. From this point on, while these systems can develop and become more sophisticated, the general organization of these systems remains the same. This general mode of organization can be compared to Freud's notion of a mental structure. It refers to the structure in which these different systems form and function. Freud added that there are specific psychic operations that set these general modes of organization at an early age. In other words, these are psychic mechanisms that organize these structures in the mind in the first place. He even went on to say that the investigation of these mechanisms is the true goal of his psychoanalysis. One of the most well-known organizing psychic mechanisms, one that you have probably heard about already, is repression. Calling it Verdrängung in German, Freud argued that repression is the reason we see people that are neurotic in the world today. He described in detail how this unique form of forgetting, and later in our videos we will see that it is much more than just forgetting, creates the neurotic mind. The way reality unravels for neurotic people, a reality that is split between consciousness and the unconscious. Now, the way Jacques Lacan continued Freud's work was by describing these structures and organizing mechanisms in linguistic terms. Now, linguistics is the scientific study of language. It investigates how people acquire their knowledge about language, how this knowledge can affect the way they think, and even how it shapes their psychology. By basing himself on a modern field of linguistics, Lacan described the human being as a speaking being. Accordingly, when addressing Freud's mental structures, Lacan defined them as linguistic structures that are organized in the mind on the basis of linguistic mechanisms that shape our relationship with language, and in this sense, also shape our relationship with the world. Now, Lacan argued that repression shapes one's relationship with language in such a way that one becomes neurotic. On the same note, he suggested that disavowal shapes the perverse mind, and foreclosure shapes the psychotic mind. All of these were described in complex linguistic terms by Lacan, terms that in our videos will be presented in a much more simplified and approachable manner. The big venture that we will take in this video series will be to go beyond Freud and Lacan and to argue that autism should also be considered as a unique mental structure. After all, humanity changes as history changes, and along with humanity, humans change too. Autism then can be described as a new way of being human. In our videos, I will try to explain how the human mind is organized on the basis of our relationship with language, and demonstrate that autism, just like neurosis, perversion, and psychosis, can also be determined by the unique relationship with language it gives rise to.